So hi, my name is Sarah Laundreville. I'm the Executive Director of the Vermont Center for Independent Living. We're a disability rights organization, and I'm also a woman living with a psychiatric disability. My experience around Social Security came after living in psych hospitals for a while, over and over again, and then onto a group home setting. And I always wanted to work, and so while I was getting some training in the group home, I would go and do different jobs, and worked in a daycare for a while, and worked at retail and those sorts of jobs for a while. And sometimes my disability was sort of getting in the way of me being able to work, and sometimes it wasn't. But for the most part, I always felt so much better when I was working, and so. At one point, though, I ended up getting fired from a job. My case manager at the time decided to help me fill out Social Security benefit forms, and so I went through this process of getting on benefits, and it was probably one of the worst experiences of my life in terms of how I felt about myself. And I think for folks who are watching this, have gone through this process, and it can make you feel really rotten about yourself, and it's something that's there for us when needed, and but at the same time, the process of saying that you can't work and you can't do anything anymore in order to have a benefit was really difficult for me to go through. I did end up getting benefits and was on them for some time. I knew, though, at the same time that I always wanted to work, and I couldn't really work very many hours initially, and going back into the workforce was something that was pretty challenging for me, because finding a job that really matched up with what my abilities were at the time, but also sort of taking that risk. I was on benefits and had health insurance that allowed me to be able to get the treatment that I needed. And if I went back to work and earned a certain amount of money, then I was really afraid that I was going to lose my health benefits. And so making that decision to sort of jump back into the workforce was really difficult. But at one point I found this job here at the Vermont Center for Independent Living, and it was 8 hours a week, so it was really doable for me at the time. And then through my life, have been able to now work. I work full time, and I'm the executive director of this organization. I was able to go back to school and get my degrees. I have a master's in organizational management. And I think that for me, the biggest part of returning to work was having the support system around me, having family and friends and people who would encourage me, who would support me when I wasn't doing so hot, and help me understand, with either people that were professionals that were helping me, or friends and family helping me figure out how reasonable accommodations fit into this. Sometimes people don't understand what we have as rights under the Americans with Disabilities Act that allow us to say, in order for me to do this job, I need something to help me do that, and kind of give me equity with other folks in that employment. And that really opened up so many doors for me when I was able to have accommodation requests that were provided to me. So if people are trying to really look within themselves, I think what James was talking about earlier in terms of trying to figure out what your own goals are, and not necessarily listening to what your family members want, or what a case manager or somebody else wants, and figure out where all the supports are in your community. There are lots of supports out there that can help support you around filling out or getting reasonable accommodation requests, or figuring out what it is that you just want to do with your life, because sometimes you haven't really been able to take time to think about what those things are, and then that will allow you to really figure out what path you want to go on.